Hey, boys and girls, it's Mrs. Murphy, and it's time for reading. Today, we're going to go back and retell Jack and the Hungry Giant with a little bit more detail. Let's look back and see what it means to retell a story. When you retell a story, you're telling the beginning, middle, and end of the story. In order to identify what those are, you need to pay attention to important changes, like a change in character. That's who is in the story. Or a change in setting. That's where the story takes place. When the characters or setting changes, that might be a sign that the plot is changing too. Now that we know how to retell a story, let's read. Remember, as we're reading, we want to pay attention to changes in characters and setting. Late one afternoon, Jack got into big trouble. Why did you trade our lovely cow beans for these silly beans? He had to go to bed early. When Jack woke up the next morning, rustle, 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 he heard a strange rustling noise, and it was coming from a huge beanstalk that was growing up into the sky. Jack started climbing higher and higher and higher. Boys and girls, this looks like a change in setting. Let's stop and retell the beginning of the story before we go on any further. In the beginning of the story, the characters are Jack and Jack's mom. The setting is Jack's home. The main event is that Jack gets in trouble for trading the cow for some silly beans. Then a huge beanstalk grows into the sky and Jack climbs it. In my picture of the beginning of the story, I drew Jack climbing the beanstalk. Let's keep reading. Jack came to a big house. Actually, it was a giant house. When nobody answered the door, he squeezed underneath it. That was a bad idea. Jack tried to hide, then had to dive into a boot. Jack squinched as far down as he could. Then he heard the front door opening. A giant picked up the boot, stared at Jack, and said, "I'm hungry." The giant had a huge knife. With a daring leap, Jack tried to escape. The giant grabbed him and said, "Be careful, my tiny friend. Are you hungry too? Have a healthy meal. I'm Waldorf. What's your name?" Um, I'm Jack. You know what? Waldorf is a new character. We must be coming up on some more main events. Let's keep reading. Tell me, Jack, what are your favorite vegetables? Squash? Peas? Turnips? I like corn, but I can't eat this much. Thanks for fixing the fruit salad, Jack. You're welcome, Waldorf. We have many grains to choose from. No, bad kitty. Let's choose our protein foods, such as nuts, seeds, beans, seafood, meat, or poultry. Poultry means birds that people eat, such as chicken and turkey. We'll have some dairy foods too. Oops. Waldorf chopped and poured and stirred. All right, friends, let's stop reading for now and see if we can retell what happened in the middle of the story. In the middle of the story, the characters are Jack and Waldorf. The setting is in Waldorf's giant house. The main event of this part of the story is that Waldorf invites Jack to eat a healthy meal with him. They make foods from all of the food groups. Can you tell me what we call the most important things that happen in a story? That's right. Those are the main events. Let's keep reading to see what happens at the end of the story. His wife Zofia came home just in time to eat. Hello there. Hello, darling. Grab a plate. Hi. Look, we have another new character, Zofia. So it's healthy to fill half your plate with fruits and vegetables? That's right. The other half have grains and proteins. Help yourself to a serving of dairy, too. That sounds good to me, Zofia. Let's do some exercise later. We could toss boulders. We could play swamp tag. I know an excellent exercise. Climbing. Bye, guys, and thanks again for the great grub. See you soon. All right, friends, now that we've finished our story, let's go back and see if we can retell the end of our story. At the end of the story, the characters are Jack, Waldorf, and Zofia. The setting is Waldorf and Zofia's house. The main events in this part of the story is Jack learning how much of each food to put on his plate, and finally, Jack and the Giants eat their healthy meal together. In my picture of the end of the story, I included all three characters and showed them eating together. Now it's your turn. Can you draw pictures to show the beginning, middle, and end of Jack and the Hungry Giant? Remember, when you're drawing your pictures, it's important to show the characters and setting that are relevant to that part of the story. All right, I can't wait to see how you do. Have a great rest of your day. Bye, friends.